Eastern. Hip hop can save America. The world's most enlightening hip hop podcast, live stream, informative, enlightening, inspirational, educational, whatever combination of words you want to use. That's what this is. Peace if you're checking on the replay. We're live, so we're letting the people trickle in. We're letting the people, trickle in through the lobby. They've gotten their drinks. It's a late night show. We adults, we drink. They're wandering through the lobby. They're admiring the architecture. You know what I mean? And they come into the room and they're settling in their seats for Hip Hop Can Save America, the live stream show. So if you're watching on the replay, that's what's happening here. I do want to thank y'all all for tuning in and turning up with us. We're here every Monday night live, 9 p.m. Eastern, almost every Monday. For this year, we've been doing pretty good. I've only missed like 2 or 3. And we're doing what we do. We talk about all the ways that hip hop can improve society and uplift humanity. Not just entertainment. Entertainment's important. We like to be entertained. Are you not entertained? Yeah, we like to be entertained. That's important. But there are ways that hip hop music and culture, as we've explored, can do so much more for all of us throughout the world. Shouts to everyone trickling in. Peace to Elliot Gann, Philip Drummond, today's Future Sound in the building. A supporter. If you're not here in a few minutes, I see you have to leave. I'm just saying hello to you because I will shout your name out as one of the Patreon supporters. So I appreciate you. I don't know if I ever asked you if that's okay to say, but I'm going to say it. And, you can scold me later. But I appreciate you. And I know that's a mutual support. So while we let people trickle in, why don't we start the show officially? We got a lot to get to tonight. Obviously, we got some hip hop news that isn't about dumb ish. And we got 2 esteemed guests tonight. This is a good one. This is going to be a good one. They're all esteemed. Everyone's a good one, and everyone's esteemed. But this is good. It's timely. It's exciting. It's something that everyone, I think, that's been a regular follower and knows about, wants to hear more about. So I'm very excited that we're going to make this happen. So with all that being said, let's get this thing started. It goes a little something like this. Hit it.
Manny Faces.
You sick for this one. Sick for this one. Sick for this one.
The thing about hip-hop today is it's smart. It's insightful. The way that they can communicate a complex message in a very short space is remarkable. And a lot of these kids, they're not going to be reading the New York Times. That's not how they're getting their information.
My hip-hop will rock and shock the nation. Hip-hop culture is more than music.
Peace to you and speak the truth. Show 'em what peace can do in their reach for you.
My hip-hop will rock and shock the nation. Rap is something you do. Hip-hop is something you live.
So hip-hop didn't invent anything, but hip-hop reinvented everything.
This is Baby Girl Faces. And this episode is brought to you by...
Shouts to Baby Girl Faces. Shouts to y'all. Shouts to our patrons. Once again, you can definitely support this show. And I please do for a little while, just so I can get like real big institutional type money coming in. We can blow this thing up. But in the meantime, in between time, it does help. There are people on that intro that have been supporting that aren't named on the intro because I haven't updated the intro yet. So forgive me. Shouts to Jamie F. Shouts to Austin, my man Austin from the Too Pretty band. Oh, I'm stumbling over my words. I haven't even drank that much. Austin from the Too Pretty band out of Dayton, Ohio. Sarah R. Dr. Elliot Gann, once again, who's in the building, and who wasn't named. But I'll name them again. Silent Night, Mark E, Jesse G, Toast, Nicholas S, Brianna C, Steffi, Kath, Morgan, Andrew Wang in the building, Dr. Raphael Travis, who I'm going to mention in a minute, Patrick, Chris J, who I just rocked with, and Adam K. These are folks that are, putting a couple dollars a month into the Patreon. It is so appreciated. It makes a big difference. It helps me keep the lights on. I've done the joke where I turn off the lights and I say, you don't want it to look like that. I won't do it again. But it helps me keep the lights on and keep this going. This is independent. Y'all know how it is when we independent. We're not. No one funds me. I do this all out of the love and my own investments. So if you feel inclined and you're able, please, patreon.com/Manny Faces. It makes a big difference. It really does. Just a little bit. We got about, 11, 12, 13 people contributing every month. Let's see if we could, show the people that I'm going to go talk to and convince them that there's an audience for this kind of hip hop talk, that there's an audience. They got to see it. They're going to spend money. Yeah, because they've been supporting me. So now give me the money so they don't have to support me anymore, and then everyone can eat. So you see what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to build it up so that we can convince the people that we need to convince. Anyway, that being said, thanks to all the contributors. If you're just tuning in, once again, we have tonight the gentleman in charge, but not in charge. It's such a collective, the brain, trust behind, but they're going to say it's a group effort. But the men who are helping helm the HipHopEd movement. If you know about this movement, it's a collective, a loose collective, but also an organized collective. It's like both at the same time. It's amazing. Collection of educators, academics, healers, activists who are aligned with the idea that hip-hop education, hip-hop-based education, hip-hop as a tool for education, hip-hop as a vehicle for education, hip-hop as an upliftment to education, that hip-hop can and is being used in inventive, innovative ways that can uplift the education sphere. And this show, we talk about all the different ways that hip-hop can do that, one of them being education, science and technology, health and wellness. We talk about a lot of intersections. But education is like one of the kind of the key core spots where we see this work. We have receipts. It's a more mature movement. It's been happening for some time, and we get a bunch of folks coming through this show that that talk about it, and I get all that information. And I'm not the guy that I'm not the expert. I mean, I am the expert, but what I do is I talk to all the people. That's how I become the expert. I don't just tell you my opinion and you should listen to me. I talk to all the people doing all the things, and then we compile all their ideas. But tonight, once again, two very big players in the game, Dr. Chris Emdin and Timothy Jones of the HipHopEd movement will be here. There's a conference happening. This is why it's timely. In about a week and a half, right? Yeah, the 22nd of June in New York City at Teachers College, the HipHopEd Conference. I see Charlotte Michelle in the building, CM, old friend, big friend of the room. I see TK in the room as well. I see Jerome Enders. What up, Raw Rome? And of course, Andrew Wang. I see a few people checking in with us, and I appreciate you. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all could be anywhere in the world. Luckily, there's no playoff game tonight, because that would probably bore you anyway, because it's one-sided, but we'll see what happens. Bob Knutson. We got Bob Knutson from out there in Wisconsin. Well, all right, listen. While we wait for our guests to arrive, because they come in, how we do. We do a little segment, and then we have guests. The segment is important because I go over a few interesting things that are happening in the world of hip-hop, music, and culture that you might not have heard about through your traditional hip-hop media channels, let's just say. Old as in long time, Charlotte. Old, young friend. Okay, you're my old, young friend. We go back a long time, but somehow I've seen you. You've only aged backwards, which is unfair, but, I understand. I'll take it. So please accept my apologies for confusing people out in there with the misspoke of me at this time of night. So that being said, I'd like to share some things that are happening in the world of hip hop music and culture that you might not hear about. Very much like Benjamin Button, Andrew. And that segment is called Hip Hop News. Well, I'll just play this. Hip hop news that isn't about dumb shit. So, coined by me, trademarked, of course. This segment will go over a few things that I wanted to share with you that I've curated and collected and found, interesting, and I think that y'all will too. We don't get a lot of this stuff being talked about, out there in the world as much as we should. So it's become my thing. This is stuff that you can find out. All you have to do, it's really simple, is subscribe. It's a free subscription. Bow. There we go. To the Hip Hop Can Save America newsletter. It's free. It's on Substack. It's at mannyfaces.substack.com. I guess if you're on a computer, you can go to a new tab and log in real quick. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're watching on YouTube, by the way, which you should be, I think I broadcast the other spots, but YouTube is really the place to go. So let me see if y'all following directions. Most of y'all are. Okay, I like it. Thank you. Thumbs up. Apparently that makes a difference. Make sure you're subscribed, because I do things that you might know about and might not see in social media. and share it. Give a quick share before we get going, so people, your friends, neighbors, supporters, and haters can all jump in with us. But this newsletter, pardon me, contains a good rundown of hip hop news that isn't about dumb-ish, and I collect it and I curate it, and I have all kind of like Google alerts and tricks and places and RSS feeds and stuff. So I look for these stories that, again, aren't necessarily, in fact, in many cases, aren't covered at all in traditional hip hop media. And if they are, sometimes it's like a blurb right up that just links off to the actual original story. So I like to go to the original source, the real reporting. But don't let me sneak in a critique of hip hop media. We're not going to do that tonight. But in this wonderful free newsletter, I'll obviously shout out some episodes you might have missed of this show. Again, Dr. John Jones was just recently on about occupational therapy in hip hop. Like, what a brilliant combination. Darrell Booker, who's a big dog out here in Atlanta, works at Microsoft, works with the different community nonprofits to help bring tech into the, they say underserved, but I say like under-resourced and underloved communities. He's doing a great job there. So these are some episodes you might have missed. And then news stories. So here's a bunch of news stories from the last one. Now, I haven't done one yet this week. This will probably come out in the next couple of days. So you're getting a preview of a couple of things that were in this, that are going to be, I should say, in this week's newsletter. So I want to start with this. This is a documentary that's coming out. Rolling Stone wrote about it. It's called It Was All a Dream. And if you know the Source magazine, if you know the history of hip hop, you know Dream Hampton. And you know that at the time of the hip hop media's heyday, Dream Hampton was an exceptional writer and brought a lot of stories to life, and then started doing some like film making and such. And Dream Hampton is a revered person in the hip hop literature world. And apparently, Dream Hampton has put together a documentary, which I think is at Tribeca. I think they're just premiering it like now, right? And it's a sort of a capsule. It says filmmaker Dream Hampton discusses the old footage she found of Biggie, Snoop, Diddy, Lil' Kim, and more, and assembling it into a stunning fly-on-the-wall documentary of rap's 90s heyday. And, Dream Hampton was in the mix. So I found it interesting. I'd like to see it. And I'd like to see the trailer. I'd like to see the movie, but I watched the trailer and I figured we'll watch it together. You want to see the trailer? Yeah, let's watch it. This is what it's about. I don't know if you heard about it or not. Let's play it. Let's see what it looks like, shall we? Let's go.
I arrived in New York from Detroit in 1990 to study film at NYU, and later I joined the staff at the Source magazine. As a music journalist, I learned to be a fan and a critic of some of the greatest artists of a generation.
1995.
And as a filmmaker, I knew there was something essential happening. Hip-hop was breaking new ground, artistically and commercially.
Anything we see that we want, we take it and we put the shit in the bag.
And I kept the cameras rolling.
What up, Dre? What up?
Dre, Little C's representing the Junior Mafia.
And you don't stop lyrically, untouchable, uncrushable, getting mad blunted in the 600.
If a nigga diss me on a record, and when I see him, we gonna deal with it.
There's a lot more females coming out who got a lot of shit to say.
That's what the brothers are talking about, that's all.
So the question is, why do you want to kill bitches?
Well,
That's the question.
I got to put it to you like this.
So there you go. Dream Hampton. It Was All a Dream. Looks interesting enough, I suppose. Previously unreleased footage, that kind of thing. It's always interesting to see. I'm going to withhold judgment until I watch it. Obviously, it touched on some topics there, and there should be no surprise that, Dream Hampton is going to touch on some of the touchy topics. But you know me, I often like to say it's great that we have sort of hip-hop documentation, and all the negative connotations that come with hip-hop, but that they're plentiful. And I sure would like to see, I love to see more and more that showcases the stuff we talk about here, sort of the positive representation. So I hope that there's a balance in the film. And that's just me speaking, you know what I mean? But it's all good. It's a thing and it's important and it should be seen. So I shared it with y'all. That's what we do here, right? So with that said, that's one of the things that I noticed in the last week or so. Real quick, there's a lot bubbling in the breaking world. I don't know why media continues to call it break dancing when everyone is saying, no, it's breaking. We prefer it be called breaking, but they still do it. It is what it is. This was interesting because it's just another story about the sort of like the way that cross-culturally we're connecting with other people. We've seen this happen. We talked to the folks at the Next Level program, which is a program run by the Department of State, the U.S. Department of State, and they send groups of teaching artists over to different countries, and they're usually a DJ, an MC, a breaker, a visual artist, and a film, someone to document it. I've asked them to send me as a podcaster. They haven't yet, but hopefully they will. But this program has been going on for more than 10 years. And yes, it's a cultural, musical, artistic exchange, but at the undercurrent is also an idea of conflict resolution or redirection, right? So we're saying we're musicians and we can do these things, but also how can we, the tenets of what we do as hip hop, you know what I mean? Like different folks from different areas of the world can all meet and vibe under this hip hop umbrella. Well, how can we translate that to maybe other things in life that maybe where there's conflict? What ethos, what ideals can we translate? Because we know that hip hop can do that. We know that, but not everyone knows that. So this is another example of what happened. Again, these links I'll share with you in the newsletter. You won't find this being talked about on a hip hop website. This is on the Washington Diplomat, which it sounds fake, but I guess it's real. It's a real story. So again, the State Department had hip hop ambassadors from 22 countries visiting Washington and New York, up in the Bronx, where the people are fresh. North Carolina, they came in on visas, and it says that at the Bronx Documentary Center, they met hip hop photographer Joe Conzo, who we love and have had on one of the iterations of my shows. So we're talking about like cross. This is Hip Hop Can Save America, but we know that hip hop can save the world. I know, y'all. I know. I'm getting there. It's gonna be the next show. Y'all support this one on the Patreon, and we can do the other one. And but yeah, so it's a really great thing that happens more than once. We've had Fabian on the show. He does a Bronx to Berlin international exchange. So what we see is these cross-cultural programs that are happening, and they're not talked about enough. So I wanted to big that up. Good timing. Dr. Raphael Travis is in the building. And one time for you, sir. And he's thanking me for blessing the camp last week. And I wanted to wait to see if you popped in and say thank you for having me. Dr. Travis is out of the Texas State School of Social Work. He's been on the show. He's the author of the seminal book, The Healing Power of Hip Hop. A revered figure in the game, as it were, but a cool cat, very knowledgeable, very friendly, great inspiration to myself and everyone else. He's in the building under Flow Story, the channel. And he just initiated this great STEM Beats camp, which will be running for several weeks out of Texas State. And I was invited to kick off the first session with sort of a keynote speech and, kind of talk it up and why I think the intersection is so important, why young people, these are high schoolers, I believe, right, Rap? This is high schoolers. So they're coming in and they're learning how to make music and using technology and putting it all together, but also like sneaking in the medicine with the ice cream is, which I guess if you do it to adults, that's not good. But if you do it to children, I think it's okay. Anyway, forget that I said it. But basically, you know what it means. You're teaching them things like STEM, like science, technology, engineering, mathematics, through the arts of, through the processes of making music and enjoying themselves. So great program offered to the youth in the community. We want to see more of these things. Once again, this is where he says, I killed it. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. This is where you're going to hear about these things. I told people about it when it was going to happen, and I told you about it afterwards. So shouts to you, sir, for doing that work. And we want to hear about it at the end. How about come on the show and tell us, because it's like a 5-week program. So at the end, come back on the show and tell us how it went down. And again, you'll continue to inspire others through this channel that I provide, and I'm very proud to do so. Couple more. Don't forget, we got Dr. Chris Emdin and Timothy Jones from the HipHopEd movement coming up in just a few minutes. Right now, I'm giving you hip hop news that isn't about dumb ish. I'll do it one more time just in case you missed the first one.
Hip hop news that isn't about dumb shit.
You'll notice that a few weeks ago in my newsletter, my free newsletter, which you can get at mannyfaces.substack.com, you get all this. If you like anything I'm saying tonight, if you're like, oh God, I never tuned in before. This guy's amazing. Great. Sign up for the newsletter. It's free. It lets us communicate, and that way you don't miss a thing, because the social media is getting hectic, because I'll post something and no one sees it. And you know what that's about. They want us to pay for it. And until I get more people on the Patreon, I can't pay for it. So follow me for free on mannyfaces.substack.com, and I'll give you all this information on a regular, semi-regular basis. The more y'all sign up, the more I feel inclined to do it. So hit me and I'll hit you back. You might have seen my essay and then a complimentary video essay on Questlove. Questlove's comment a few weeks back about his disappointment in the Kendrick Lamar Drake thing, and how, hip hop, battles are, no good for anything. And there could be violence, and it's not even that skilled anymore, and shake fist, and, that kind of attitude. And then ending it with hip hop is truly dead. And of course I took umbrage. Is that the right word? I took offense to that because of all y'all. Whoever's tuned in and watching me right now is like, nah, we out here, we doing wild, innovative, crazy things in hip hop. Like, we killing it. What are you talking about, Questlove? And I think we all felt some type of way. Now, we might know what he might have meant or what he was feeling at the time, but it does a disservice. This was the crux of my my piece, was it does such a disservice to all the people that are doing all this hard work and killing it out here, to put words out there into the world like hip hop is truly dead, because the people who don't understand all the nuance and inside baseball that we know, they think hip hop is truly dead. Well, Questlove said it. Gosh. And if they're like in a position of authority where they could greenlight a program or say yes to a movie, or I'm trying to write a book, you think a book editor is gonna be like, why would we want you to write a book about hip hop if hip hop is dead? I heard from the illustrious Questlove that hip hop is truly dead. No one's buying these books anymore. It's all about violence and rap battles now. So I just think that's a terrible thing. Y'all could disagree with me or agree with me. I don't care. Point is, he's written a book called Hip-Hop is History. And, Andrew Wang is in the chat, says he's going to get his copy of the book. That's cool. I want to peep it. I haven't peeped it yet. I'll withhold judgment once again. I will direct you, however, to a review by Dr. A.D. Carson. A.D. Carson is the professor of hip-hop at the University, Virginia University? I forget Virginia State or Virginia's, hold on. University of Virginia. I was right. So A.D. Carson, he's been on the show. He's a brilliant mind. I was just with him. He keynoted one of the nights at the European Hip Hop Studies Conference. I was blessed, honored, privileged, and lucky to be at and be presenting at in Ireland just a week and a half ago. Crazy experience. He was there, did a brilliant keynote. He's a brilliant mind, and he was asked to do an early review of the Questlove book. So you want to definitely check it. Check it out when you get a chance. Again, it'll be in the newsletter, but Los Angeles Times, Questlove. And it's an interesting review. And I think it may hint at some of the issues that I might have with, again, Questlove being, and anybody, this isn't to single out Questlove, but this is to say that when you're in a position of sort of authority that reaches outside of our community, like, I'm very careful about what I say about hip hop music and culture. I'm very conscious of it. Like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. Also, who am I? Like, I'm privileged to be in this spot. I'm just using my talents the best that I can. I'm listening to everybody and making sure that I'm repeating all the perspectives. And then you get somebody who, because of their position, and there's nothing wrong with their position, but they've been anointed this sort of musicologist, this expert. And then they seem to fail to do the same thing when they reach out to the world, and they kind of come at it from their perspective without realizing there's so many other perspectives. I don't know. It bothers me just because I'm trying to advocate for all of y'all, and then somebody tells me that, oh, the thing you do is dead. It just, I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. I did it before. So check out his book, I guess. And I hate this to be I'm not trying to go against, all of our all of our superstars. But this story popped up. And I wanted to give some context to it. It'll be in the newsletter. I may do a blurb. And we may talk to our guests about this. This might actually be something that they're going to have some real interesting insight on. There was a story recently that Rock Nation and Jay-Z, but by extension Jay-Z is Rock Nation, right? Leads a campaign to help underprivileged students secure $300 million in scholarships. And everyone was like, yay, that sounds great. And I guess it sounds great. But I know some things. So I kind of, and then Nicole Hannah-Jones, who you'll know is the great author of the 1619 series of projects, put up a post which explained it better than I could. And I'm going to share this in the newsletter. Once again, this may be not something you're following, but it's something that I need us to pay attention to. Because as I say, not everything that hip hop glitters is hip hop gold. This might be an example of that. In her Twitter, which you can't really read that. Can I make it bigger? Y'all not looking at, except for TK who's watching me on like a 76-inch TV. I appreciate you. In response, Nicole Hannah-Jones says, I really wish rich, out-of-touch folks who know nothing about education would just stop. 1, read the fine print. This is a government voucher program. Voucher programs have not been shown to improve results for poor Black children because most cannot get into high-quality private schools. 2, read the fine print. All of the money is coming from taxpayers, i.e. the government. Rock Nation is not funding anything. Is not funding this. It's just launching an educational campaign that maybe it's being paid to do. I'm researching. But certainly its involvement is to convince poor Black parents to leave the public schools. 3, she says, what do you think that $300 million could do for improving these low-performing public schools? 4, it is a lie that these programs do not take from public school funding. Fewer kids in a classroom mean fewer dollars to the school. And 5, this is a windfall to the city's private schools at the expense of the public ones that most kids attend. So, Nicole Hannah-Jones giving some much-needed context to when we say, oh, cool, Jay-Z's giving money to kids. That sounds great. There's more to these things than that. And I'm not taking a side, I'm not digging in deep. Our guests actually will probably have a little, maybe a little better 2 cents than me on this topic if they care to go there. But the point is that we have to kind of look at these things past the surface and wonder why certain people doing certain things. This isn't a dig on Jay. This is just a dig on capitalism and politics and, looking twice and critical thinking, and not everything that hip hop glitters is hip hop gold. So with that was tonight's episode segment of
Hip Hop News that isn't about dumb shit.
So thank you once again. Check it in the comments section. Shouts to Dr. Raphael Travis, Andrew Wang, Keisha TK, Dutez, Jerome Enders, everyone on the check-in. We got a lot of folks checking in tonight. I'd like to say y'all here for me, but I know you're not. I know why y'all here. Whatever. It's okay. I don't take it personal. I love y'all. At least y'all come back next time now that you know this thing exists. But let me, without really much further ado, I'm going to share. I didn't load it, did I? I'm still one person, y'all. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to give you a little quick snippet about who we're about to talk to, and then we're going to get into it because I will not keep these busy folks waiting. Here it goes. The greatest gifts that hip hop gave us is rap. Well, yes, but I mean also DJs, of course, but breakers, graffiti artists, beatboxers. Yes. I mean more than just the arts. Rap snacks. No, hip hop based education. Oh, yeah. Wait, what? I'm Manny Faces, and this is
Hip Hop News that isn't about dumb shit.
June 22nd, 2024, Teachers College, New York City. The HipHopEd Conference will bring together a plethora of academics and educators and activists who are using the power of hip-hop music and culture to improve the educational lives of students from all walks of life, but most importantly, in communities that have been hindered by racial and economic injustice. Now, to the uninitiated, hip-hop and education together might sound like a strange concept, but if you're in the education space or anything even closely related, I guarantee you this conference will change your entire perspective. So register now. Details are in the video description or on Instagram at HipHopEd. And for more like this, tune into Hip Hop Can Save America, the live stream show, every Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, hiphopcansaveamerica.com/watch. Hey, that's us. That's what we're doing now. Congratulations if you followed directions and tuned in. And now, as a reward for doing so, the very inimitable Dr. Chris Emdin, the very inimitable Timothy Jones from the HipHopEd movement joining me tonight. What's up, gentlemen?
What's poppin', man? First of all, I just want to say to you, thank you for what you do in this space. Thank you for literally saving America through hip hop. And thank you for not shying away from controversial issues and topics, including this one around Jay-Z. Like, I just really appreciate you. It takes boldness and courage and fervor and wisdom to do what you do the way you do it, King. So salute to you.
I appreciate that appreciation. Tim?
Yeah. Nah, good, man. Glad to be here and just echoing what my brother said. But definitely thank you for that real and just showing some love to the movement. You know, you've been day one rocking with us, and so we're excited to be on the show with you.
I appreciate the excitement. I'm very excited. Tim, you've been on before, so you know, and I thank you for rocking with me in the past. Dr. Emdin, Chris, you ought to know that in my heart of hearts, I had illusions of grandeur, and I was gonna do some big like fireside chat live event, and I was gonna have you. So I was saving you for like, so don't take it personal. Don't ever take it personal. But I'm glad
that's all love. We'll do that another time. It's all good.
100%. I'm with it. Like I'm trying to do these things. So, but the timing is great. If you would let's start at the future and then go back a little bit to how we got here. We are talking about, 12 days before the 2024 HipHopEd Conference happening at Teachers College in New York City, as that wonderful commercial demonstrated. If you could, just for the people and for myself, just get us caught up on what that conference is going to entail and what it's looking like.
I mean, the long and short of it is, we've had this conference every year for the last, Tim, is it 7 or 8 years now?
I think the first one was 2017, and the only time we stopped was because of the pandemic.
Yeah, man. So we've had this gathering, and the thing is, it's very simple. What HipHopEd does as a sort of digital space, as a nonprofit, is to bring together folks who are doing the work in education, who are deeply connected to both hip hop and education. And we convene on a digital space once a week, and we have back and forth conversations with folks. And this conference is an opportunity for us to get back together, get re-inspired, reinvigorated, recommitted to our work, re-inspired, see what's going on in different spaces of the country, what folks are working on and doing. It's a place to borrow ideas. It's a place to share ideas. And in essence, and its truth, it's a family reunion. Like we are all such a beautiful community, smart and committed folks. And sometimes you just need to be in each other's presence. Yeah. And so it's our family reunion. And full disclosure, this year, we've not had the kind of promotion we've had in years past because it's been such a pressing and trying year to just get back where we are. And so this opportunity to just remind folks that we're still here, we ain't going nowhere. Right. And also in the spirit of a family reunion, whether it's 50 or 500, and we've had both, it's the same energy, the same fervor. Those who need to be in a building will be in a building, and we're going to love on each other, learn from each other, inspire each other, and then keep going.
Yeah, I love it. Tim, what are your thoughts? What are we looking forward to? What's this kind of going to look like in practice?
Our theme is navigating persistent pandemics and possibilities. And that actually was a topic of one of our spaces. And then based on just the energy from the spaces, it's like, okay, let's dig into this a little bit more. And one of the things that Chris has always advocated for, and we wholeheartedly buy into, is this notion of our conference being the unconference. And what we mean by that, and this is not a knock on the academy, but it's the type of thing that, okay, if we're saying hip hop education, and if we're hip hop ed, but then we mirror the education spaces that vilified hip hop, then we actually are worse than those spaces, because those spaces wasn't trying to fake and come into the hood. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like we lead with hip hop to get that credibility, but then push those individuals out and say that you got to have letters behind your name and all of these other things. Now, over the years, I know, and one of the things Chris and I are going to begin to do is really dive in to see just what the impact has been over these years about doing that work. But when we say we're that unconference conference, it's for that teacher who doesn't think that what they are doing in class is something that should be presented as a viable workshop. That teaching artist that works in that after school program that doesn't have the language to really apply to, like, that dope activity you created as a framework, or that the way you're getting young people in and doing things, you're actually doing SEL, you're actually touching on higher order thinking, but that's not the language that works in the space that they're operating in. They're just really doing hip hop. That slang in Brooklyn may be different than slang in the Bronx. Using it as an example of the importance of language. So that's what we're doing. So when we say that family reunion, the family reunion, they ain't checking at the door like, okay, this is the table for the family members who are successful, and
There's no seating charts at
and then the family member that gonna have to get a ride. They're gonna ask you to loan them some money.
That's funny.
You bringing them in as well. So that's really what it's about. And as Chris said, like this is the labor of love. And so we definitely are promoting it, and we want everyone to come, but it's not about the quantity, it's more about the quality. And we believe that over the years we've been doing this drumbeat of quality, and then the quantity will come.
Yeah, I think first of all, the idea of language and like translating what we do inherently in hip hop and how that can be applied. Obviously, this is kind of the core of the idea of hip hop based education, or going back to culturally relevant and all the frameworks, or the educational ideas that have come out of sort of this collective movement over the years. Dr. Bettina Love was my first guest on this show ever, and it set the tone for everything, because she taught me that what we do in the cipher is social and emotional learning. And just making that connection is so brilliant to like folks that were never thinking about that way. So the hip hop ed movement as a whole, now taking it back, saying like, what is it at its core, is to help teachers understand that this is a thing, right? I mean, isn't that basically it? Like, you may do it, like you said, you may be doing it already, and you're trying to get, I know we don't need the validation, but sometimes we gotta present it in a way, right? Or you don't even know that you're able to do that this is a thing that you can do, and that's where y'all kind of help folks get to. Right?
Bro. And it's not even like that it's just a thing.
Right.
I think what's beautiful about it is that it's a thing that is superior to the existing things that folks are holding up as the ideal, while you're perceiving what you're doing as superficial or outside of the context or non-essential, or just for the record, like, yo, check this out, beloved. Like, what you doing that's really hitting, that's turning young folks on to learning, that's making them want to come to school more often. That, like, not only is it a thing that holds weight academically, it's a thing that actually is beyond the rubrics and the benchmarks and the standards that those folks are holding up. And that if you brought this hip hop thing into the academic space, you'll find that you're superior. Like, I want to be really clear about this. Like, it's superior to the existing model. It's a recognition that the existing model is fundamentally broken, and that through our approaches, we meet and surpass their benchmarks. And so bring your localized ways of knowing and being connected to the culture into the space. And what you'll realize really quickly is like, wait, I'm dope. Like, what we want for hip hop ed has always been for folks who just know what's right to do because they believe in the power of hip hop, like, start recognizing the power they hold by virtue of their intrinsic knowledge that's birthed in their body, by virtue of what the boom bap does to their hearts and souls. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yo, just so you know, beloved, you popping beyond these cats. Like, by virtue of just knowing the power of hip hop, because young folks break down lyrics you brought into the classroom, you're actually doing doper work than a PhD endowed chair professor. And it's to be able to put you in, like, why we are doing it at Teachers College, beyond my connections to the institution, is that we want our people to walk on a stage in a place that holds the highest esteem and sit in their seats and occupy their spaces and own those spaces for the beauty and power and magic that we have intrinsically, because we're connected to the culture. You know what I mean? And that's the, not the ulterior, but it's like it's the contextual cues around our presence, is the recognition of our superiority.
And also to that, and like we do hip hop ed because we love hip hop. The systems of education, they can fail, they can change.
Right.
Like, I'm going to deal with Chris and I because we're here. Like, we're husbands, we're fathers. So we live and model so our wives can say they're married to hip hop. Our children who are successful in their own right and being raised, and my children are young adults, and Chris's are growing too fast, and I coach them and let them know, beloved, you better grab the memories.
Oh,
but
man.
they're going to have a different view of what hip hop can be because of the lives that we live. And so now, because we've been doing this since November 2010, now you have K through 12 schools, like you have high schools who have hip hop classes.
Right.
Because at first it was just, I'll integrate the pedagogy into my class, and that's cool that they can rhyme. But we've been saying, no, there is scholarship embedded in the culture.
Right.
Yes, Tim,
So
talk.
it's one thing to say, hey, my students are going to rap. It's another thing to say, you know what? We're going to have a unit on Rakim. And so not only are we breaking down what he's saying, we're breaking down how he's saying it. And then he's aligning it to a jazz musician. So now the science teacher and the ELA teacher and the music teacher are they're collaborating on a unit that's built around hip hop. So like that's where we're thinking. And that's the niche that we're lifting up. So like this notion of, partner with the teaching artist. No, the real talk is the teacher, you should come and be the apprentice to the teaching artist.
Talk, Tim.
That's what we're about.
Integration has never been a successful model for anything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We've learned that the hard way. Let's integrate hip hop into the schools. When was the last time integration was a successful model for any marginalized population in any existing entity?
Right.
So it's the goal has never been integration. The goal has been reimagination. Right? Like, how do we use this thing that we know is right to do to reimagine what this school operates as? How do we use this thing to reimagine what education is and could be? And, the beautiful thing about hip hop ed for me, hip hop education generally for me, is that it is the ultimate in interdisciplinarity.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be on deck. Your science teacher, your math teacher, your English teacher, your art teacher, your history, everybody got a part to play in it. Like, and it reflects where the world goes or should be, because we are learning now that interdisciplinarity is the ultimate marker of intelligence. And so, but hip hop has been doing that from the beginning. You got to count bars. So you got to know how to count bars, ratio, proportion. You got to be able to write the rhymes. You have to be able to write. You have to have social and cultural reference. You got to know history. You got to know social studies. Your album cover got to be some art. So we just by virtue of being hip hop are doing all the things at once anyway. We're asking schools to just catch up. You know what I'm saying? Can y'all step y'all game up to match what hip hop already does?
Right.
And that's what the conference kind of showcases. It showcases, members of our community who are literally leading education in wherever endeavors they're doing through hip hop, all coming together. And the goal is to be able to create it's just this is Afrofuturism in real time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're in the present, literally dreaming out loud about the future and then existing within it.
Let me ask a question about the time, because you say you've been doing it for a long time. I know this. You've been writing, there's books been on it, but also conferences and the spaces. And before spaces, it was the other thing. Y'all been, and the coalition has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And there are people from not just academics, but as we've said before, I'm not a traditional academic. I don't teach in a school. I don't have a PhD or whatever, but I still teach people about this thing. And so you find people from all different areas. So over the years, though, I would imagine you've been making some great progress. And now I imagine that because of the, kind of overarching political and social schemes that are happening around us, some of that progress might feel endangered. So I'm asking, what have the challenges been getting to this point? What have been the successes? Again, not integrating, but helping schools reimagine. I know there's a lot of programs that have been wholeheartedly in favor of what you've been doing with Science Genius and all these kind of concepts. But now, are we worried that because of what we see happening, that a lot of progress may be stifled and pushed back, as we see with all other DEI and affirmative action, all the other things that kind of been, along the same lines.
Like the only way I could respond to that question is through the words of one of the most prolific poets of our time, who in the midst of a verse constructed what I've used as a mantra for my existence. Was told in shootouts, stay low and keep firing, then keep extra clips for extra shit. And that's the approach. Like, the nature of engaging in academic work means that they're gonna shoot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So they're gonna aim at your character, they're gonna aim at your approach, they're gonna aim at your personality, they're gonna aim at your, like, there will be shootouts. And in the midst of those things, we don't get bothered by the shootouts, we just stay low. The key thing for anyone who wants to do revolutionary work has to be the recognition that resistance will come. Lies will come, distortions will come. In the midst of those shootouts, what do? Everything but stop.
Right.
You just keep firing.
Yeah.
When we say stay low, it's stay low in spirit. Don't make sure it's about you. Stay low in countenance, like stay humble.
Yeah.
And just keep on doing the work. And then always keep something on deck. Keep extra clips when extra ish come up.
Right.
So they're gonna try, like, whenever somebody wants to do something like really like grand blasting sort of thing, like, oh, by the way, we got this little program on deck. We ain't tell y'all about that joint. So so it's like, you thought Science Genius was just it? Check out this Collider Classroom thing where we're reimagining classroom design through hip hop. You ain't even know? You thought like all we did was spaces? People be doing with this conference. Like, you thought all we're doing was just this? Yo, look how many PhDs we produced who are doing hip hop studies. So you stay low and keep firing. You keep extra clips for extra shit, and you never stop. Why don't you stop? Because you believe in what you're doing. Recognition, visibility. If there was Twitter Spaces or no Twitter Spaces, if there was a hip hop conference or not, I would not stop doing what I'm doing because it makes my soul speak.
Right.
And so when you live beyond the parameters of those things, you ain't got to worry about it. You know the resistance is going to come. We just keep doing what we do.
Tell them.
I think it's also embedded in what you define as success and how you measure your impact. And it's making sure that you don't fall into the trappings of this is the way you're supposed to measure your success. Because as social media goes through this ebbs and flows, as people's lives go through ebbs and flows, if I was counting just straight numbers, the numbers have gone down. But it can't be about that, because the core that are there, we get to hear that we're changing lives. We get to hear that. Like, so, because there was a time, like, we was doing this when Twitter had 140 characters, and it would be nothing to look on the trend and see hashtag HipHopEd literally trending nationally. A couple of times it was trending internationally. And this is when Chirp Story, you was getting all of that data. Chirp Story isn't even in existence anymore.
Right.
And so now, so if it was a numbers game, then that would fuel the feeling of being tired.
Yeah.
But now it's like you get to hear
the impact.
And you've been on space. You get to hear literally people cry. You get to hear people that say, I was just praying to make it to Tuesday so that I could be back with community. Okay. Well, then qualitatively, that doesn't measure up, but quantitatively, and then for Chris and I as the host of that, then that's feeding our soul.
Yeah.
And then you don't know, like Pac said, that it's like, hey, I may not change the world, but I may spark one.
Talk, bro, talk.
So then, okay, in the midst of doing this work in the spaces, in the midst of doing this conference, in the midst of giving somebody an opportunity to get published when they didn't even think that it was possible, to have somebody be able to just hang out, like, yo, come to New York, let's just hang out. And and the significance, because we've witnessed it in the early days of Science Genius, where you had kids from New York City, like, yo, we get to come to Teachers College. And security is not going to tell us we don't belong. Like we get to come to Teachers College with our Adidas on, our polo gear, jump on the stage, wild out, and RZA's right there. And like, what? And then it's like, I'm sure Chris had to call parents to be like, no, they're not making it up. They really are going to this Ivy League school and representing in a rhyme battle. Like that doesn't even sound right in 2012 when this was first birthed in that spring 13. So it's those moments that keep us going. And then truthfully, real talk, like Nicodemus came at night to holler at Jesus. The haters come at night. The haters come at night because it's like, okay, you shoot down the hashtag, but then you want one of us to consult for you. Right. So it's like, because truthfully what it is that we have taken the stand, and this may sound pompous, we don't need you.
That's right.
You need us.
Right.
We truly are going to be all right. Like we've created an economy and an ecosystem that takes care of ourselves, and they're going to come along.
Yeah. Yeah, that testimony is wildly inspiring. Obviously, to me, for folks who are listening, obviously teachers and folks who come to. So for those that don't know, who might have stumbled upon us and don't actually know y'all like we know y'all, the Twitter Spaces is a weekly gathering on Twitter. When do y'all kick it off? 8:15?
8:15.
See, I didn't even have to look it up. I know these things.
8:15.
Yeah, man.
Come on now.
Come on, man.
So you get to join in the Twitter Space, which is great, coming together and you hear the testimonies. There's a theme to the discussion every week. It's usually populated by teachers or other academics, but also those who are interested in, the interdisciplinary fields. Here's a question I ask sometimes because we're academics or, don't yell at me. I'm an academic too. I know.
I'm about to say, Chris is about to go at you.
That's my thing. That's my thing. I don't allow anybody in my space to talk down on themselves.
Listen, you did it to me already, and
I ain't got no squares in my circle.
I tell people that story, and I tell them the same thing you told me when they do the same thing. So believe me, it's each one teach one. Dr. Def told me, she said, I'm an anthropologist, and I almost like fell in my seat. I was like, that's so beautiful. But I am, damn it. Okay. The point is, I ask a lot of times, we're in a little bit of an inside baseball space because we do work in the educational spaces a lot. We talk about that stuff. What can parents or hip hop heads who are getting older, but like feel that their culture contribute to more to society, but they're not teachers, they're not academics, they're not in that world, but we could use their signal booster, right? We could use their amplification. We could use their support. What does the average person, but you know what I mean? Not in this field. Well, how can they help us? Because they might be listening to this too. Like, oh, I love them, but I'm not a teacher. I'm a parent. Maybe do I go to school board meetings? Like, what can I do as a citizen of the United Hip Hop Nations to help these efforts?
Yo, just join a community. I mean, like it's really so simple. It's like when you come into the space or you come to the conference, you will find like-minded souls and spirits who have their own different entry points as well.
Right.
And when you build with folks who have the same heart as you guys find ways to find what part of the culture or part of the movement you get in on. I always tell people this, like, there is no movement where everybody's monolithic. Otherwise, you don't have a movement, right? Exclusionary sort of practices are not a piece of what we do. So when you get in where you fit in, literally, when you get in where you fit in, you find your space, and then you become the expert in your domain. So it might be somebody who's like a PhD in whatever else it is, but ain't got the knowledge of 80s and 90s hip hop that you have. Right. Now you become a resource for that person, right? Somebody might be like not a parent, like a parent, but not a parent of this generation, and you are. And so it's when you operate in community, we don't ever lack, because all the expertise we need is in a part of the community. So I don't have any, there's no defined roles. There's no defined titles. Right. There's just defined spirit, right? Shared spirit, shared connection, shared emotion, shared value. Yeah. And once that comes together, we all get in where we fit in.
I'm always encouraging folks, like, you don't have to be you hear college, you hear conference, you hear academic conference. No, you don't have to be academic. You hear hip hop conference and you could be just hip hop. You could be an art. In fact, artists, I think, are great to come into this space. They've never touched these kind of, we know Aisha and then in Harvard and, Dr. Lauren Kelly in Rutgers, I work with her conference. When folks who don't know what this is about come into these spaces, they get so inspired, like, oh, there's more I can do than just, write rhymes and record tracks. Like I can actually be involved in this stuff.
I'm building off of the title of what you do. He says hip hop can save America. And I think sometimes we put so much emphasis on education.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about a 24-hour day, you're in traditional education from 9 to 3.
Yeah.
That's only 6 hours.
Yeah.
So that parent, they handling the other 18. That person that is just on the block, like doing those things. The reality is the educators are low-key studying and getting credentials off of observing you. You're the expert of what it is that has become this field of study.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, for us, it's like, yo, come in. Because the truth be told, I could claim to be hip hop to the hilt and this, that, the other, but I don't know what it's like to be 25, riding the 2 train.
That's right.
In 2024.
Right. Today hip hop, not yesterday's hip hop.
Navigating, okay, now drill is becoming a little more nuanced because now they got talking to the ladies, or, you a parent, and then on the side, you're an artist. Like that's the type of energy. That's what we need.
Yeah.
Because the problem is when everybody around you starts looking the same and sounding the same, you actually isolated yourself and got off track from the work.
Right.
And a lot of times what we do is just hype each other up, and we just start yesing and amening each other.
Right.
And because the way the swords will iron sharpens iron based on friction.
Yep.
Not based on laying on top of each other and playing nice. So have them come through, drop bars, share whatever. Like that's how we do it. And trust me, the last thing I'll say is, and when they come through, we surprise them. Because a lot of people will think like, oh well, hip hop educators, they're over here, and then the skill cats. It's like, listen, we could do the Canva deck.
We still gets busy, you know what I mean?
It's like, listen. We could go on 120th and Broadway and have a cipher.
That's right.
Or we could go in the chapel and have a cipher.
That's right.
And we're going to do it in both places and be comfortable in both places.
Yeah. I also love the idea that people who don't understand anything about any of this can come in and should come in. Like this doesn't even make any sense. It's almost like for the welcoming, it's almost like come as you are. Right?
Yeah. Radical hospitality, man.
That's it. Yeah, everyone's welcome. They'll all be blown away. That's why I said in my thing, like if you've never been to anything like this, it'll just change your perspective a little bit or a lot, but it'll definitely change your perspective. Before I let y'all go, give me a couple minutes longer. Y'all good?
Yeah, we good.
I want to know a little bit more of the specifics. I have I have to give this opportunity to this gentleman. His name is Rang Bells in our circle. He's a music teacher from mighty Yonkers, New York. And he's a great supporter of the show. YO in the building. And he wanted to ask a question live and direct. I said, of course, Mr. Andrew Wang could jump on and say something real quick, ask his question. We're the best dressed of us all. Come on. What are you doing here?
Get my shirt.
I'm saying, I got you. Andrew, I know you wanted to ask questions of the folks directly, so please.
Yeah. First of all, shout out to Martin Urbeck, who introduced me to Chris, in the sense of that white folks are teaching the hood book that really changed my perception of teaching.
Wow.
But I can get into all that later on. So obviously we have a project based on this book and how it came to be. And you were talking about how anyone could be a part of this. I grew up in a suburban environment. And I'm actually working on making hip-hop curriculum based on another book, but you'll hear all that stuff in the comments. But this is the big question I have. So hip-hop has had an influence in the world, all these different countries, all different states and regions. But I feel those in suburban environments and in America still have trouble grasping this understanding what hip-hop could be or how it can indirectly impact their lives. So I just was curious to know what you think about that kind of situation, because I know even when I go into a suburban environment, like people are like scared to see me wearing stuff like this or like this, and I'm like, I want to change that narrative.
Mm.
Brother, the only way you can change narratives is to show up as a full self, showcasing all the complexities of who you are that includes your hip hop self. And initially there will always be like apprehension, or there might be pause, but the frequency with which you engage with your full self will be the extent to which the people in your surroundings move along. It's just about not, when they give you the resistance, not letting up. You know what I mean? So when I enter into certain spaces sometimes, and folks like, oh, I'm not sure what that is, and they think that I am going to like listen to their not getting it and not come back. I'll be back the next week to offer you some more. I'll be back and you know, it's about consistency. You know, every consistent patterned action becomes ritual. So first you got to decide, who do you want to impact? So if you could make a decision, urban, suburban, like, yo, you know what? I want to impact the suburban space. And once you've decided that that's your mission and your goal, then I build a ritual out of my commitment to transforming that space through the culture. And every consistent patterned action become ritual. We thought we sent them away. He back next week. We thought he sent them away. He came back with a new idea next week. And before long, if people are not convinced about your content, they're convinced by your dedication. And when folks are convinced by your dedication and you're speaking truths, then what you have to say starts resonating. And all you need is a convert. You just need, look, it's like a come to Jesus moment in the church. All we need is one soul, just one person to come up to altar call. And once you've done that, you've built a partnership. Partnerships becomes coalitions. Coalitions become movements. Movements become change. So, you know, that's all it is. Just, again, like I said earlier, stay low, keep firing, in the words of Biggie, and it's going to be all right.
But I'm really glad, Andrew, glad to meet you. We've been connecting Facebook and all these other things to get to see a face behind the typing. But the question that you're lifting is so critical, because for a lot of us, we started off in urban spaces, and our careers have afforded us the opportunity to now we live in suburban spaces.
Right.
And so we often face, sometimes a lot of our young people in suburban spaces deal with an identity crisis, because it's hip hop is so pervasive. It's speaking to them, but if they're not seeing reflections of themselves, they begin to emulate what is being presented to them. And then the danger is, A, they're not built that way. And then B, they have the resources to take the wankster studio, whatever you want to call it, to that nth degree. So it really is about entering into that suburban space and then lifting up, one, making sure we're telling the hip hop origin story and its early story in full.
Yes.
And then two, because honestly, what's happening, it's like, oh, this is De La Soul all over again. Because it's like, okay, in order for them to say potholes in my lawn, you had to have a lawn. You know, I'm just saying, like, whereas now that sounds crazy, but for them to come out with that, and that's going to be my lead single in a pre-gangster era, like, yo, because this is our reality. So when you present hip hop through that lens of really, it's you telling your story, expressing yourself. So why you gonna be ashamed if you happen to live in a place where you get to celebrate Mother's Day and Father's Day because they both in the house and everybody got the same name? Why you gonna feel less ethnic or less whatever because you're at a school that gives a damn? Like, so it's like, you know, so I think the work that needs to be done is really getting them to see beyond this commercial co-op thing of their mind, because that's really becomes the problem. And because I live in Maryland, I see it all the time. My son, we like, it's almost like we'll laugh that it's like, yo, Pop, this kid went to school with me and now he got a gangster track, but in 10th grade his home was $700,000. You know,
just tell the truth. I think,
like,
and, you know, that's the beauty of hip hop. Hip hop trains us to tell the truth, right? So no matter what your entry point is, what it is, it's peace, love, unity, having fun.
Yep.
Right? Radical honesty, radical truth, and also like this idea of just radical possibility, the activation of the imagination. And you can imagine yourself to be a thug or a gangster, but you can imagine yourself to be so much more.
Right.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's about truth telling and imagination.
Yeah, word up. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you,
Thank
brother.
You spitting, Tim. You spitting, Tim. That
All
was a
right.
heavy, that
All
was a
right,
heavy
Andrew.
bars,
Thanks,
beloved.
man.
That touched home because I mean,
Yeah.
I live in that setting and work in schools where it's like, yo, man, like, come on.
Tell the truth, kid.
And I'll also tell you, listen, the fact that question and the way y'all answered it was great because, you know, I mean, I come from I was Long Island. I was down the road from De La Soul myself, and I came up a certain way, and I have my own certain perspectives, and I also have things that other people might not have had. My dad was a sociologist, and he was an urban studies sociology minorities guy. I knew what gentrification meant when I was 8, so I knew some things coming up. But I was overseas last week, the European Hip Hop Studies Conference out there in Cork, Ireland. And what you get is you get Europeans. Like, they don't have the same history as us. They don't have the same, the racial, African diaspora, but in America kind of things that are happening that we've built our hip hop knowledge on. And so they're like, how do we fit in? How do we get to like participate in this? We're trying to do the same things. The landscape looks different. But what y'all was saying is that translates across boundaries.
It's there's a universality to being from a population where you've been broken, hurt, pushed to the margins, and you need to have voice.
Yeah.
And privilege in that context is relative. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
Right.
suburban kids go through stuff too. You know what I'm saying? Like, my parents gave me so much money, they never gave me themselves. That's a place of hurt and brokenness. You need to have voice. I come from Ireland, and and my particular population has never had voice in society. Like, everybody got, hip hop is like, I'm sorry, now I'm getting all emotional when I talk about the culture. But the beauty of the culture is there are entry points to every person. It provides you the opportunity to be able to find your truth and find your voice and have a mechanism to be able to embody and give up. That's all it is. It's a mouthpiece for the forgotten. And everybody knows what it feels like to be forgotten at some point. And that's the magic of hip hop, Ed, but it's the magic of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop provides us that.
And truthfully, at some point, and we may even be there, be inspired, not necessarily to mimic.
Right.
Be inspired to let your imagination ignite how you want to get down where you are. To me, that's like, okay, if we want to say because if we say August 11th, 1973 in the Bronx, but what happened there was inspired by what preceded it.
Sure.
So I love what Grandmaster Caz says, that hip hop didn't invent anything.
Yes,
it reinvented everything.
Facts.
Okay, so he didn't say that to say that was only supposed to be one evolution of it.
Right.
And so for us, as we get older, we got to be open to see other parts of the world, other generations, that Chris said, that the way that they choose to develop their agency and voice and find themselves creates the cultural continuum. Because think about it, it's like, because you could say, okay, if there wasn't the Black Arts Movement, we wouldn't have hip hop the way we have it now. If it wasn't for the New Eurekan Poets Movement, maybe we wouldn't have hip hop the way we have it now. If punk rock wasn't searching and doing the same things where they saw, because you take community as common unity.
Right.
That uptown and downtown, even though they look the same, they look different, and the sounds were different, but in this heart, it's like, yo, we all looking for the same thing because we all are rebelling against whoever them is at that moment.
Facts.
So punk rock didn't say, I'm going to become hip hop. Hip hop didn't say, I'm going to become punk rock, but we're going to coexist. And then the producers are going to be like, oh, okay, now we can sample. Now we can start doing this. So it would be those individuals in Ireland. What's popping in Ireland that would make you be like, yo, the way, no matter where Chris is, he gonna throw this up for the BX. Okay, whether you want to throw up the IR, whatever it is in Ireland, whatever,
Right.
because that's really what makes you hip hop. I
Yeah.
feel like hip hop has grown where hip hop is a is a philosophy. Hip hop is a spiritual approach to how you want to live, being inspired by these contemporary artifacts and the principles of peace, unity, love, and having fun. I've been married almost 26 years. My wife and I, we have peace, we have unity, we have love, and we have fun. But we're not out spray painting and
doing the elements together. You're not doing the kid and play kick step with your wife. You're not doing.
Y'all know y'all was spray painting in your little suburban area. You know what, y'all? I'm trying to throw the five. Don't try to throw 5 off of y'all. I know what y'all be doing out there. Okay?
But
y'all tagging the back of Panera. What are y'all doing?
Yeah, so I like that, but that's what it is. So we get to show up.
100%.
We get to show up and expand it. So because the beauty of it is Chris's daughter and son, who I love, they get to grow up and dream within a broader presentation of what hip hop is that Chris and I couldn't have imagined. And that's our responsibility. That's what HipHopEd is about.
I love it. And Baby Girl Faces would agree because she's coming up in her own little way as well. We like to see it happen. I like to say, I said in the talk I gave in Ireland about the Grandmaster Caz quote, hip hop didn't invent anything, but it reinvented everything, including itself.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That includes itself. You cannot put in a box that which is never supposed to have been in a box in the first place. That was legitimately created to be unboxable. And there are people.
That's why this man got a show.
I'm saying
exactly.
There are other.
He got a show and shirts.
But
everybody
y'all got shirts.
Both.
Y'all got shirts too. I seen y'all shirts. So with that said, and coming back around, we'll close it out. I kept y'all long enough, I think, but I love talking to y'all. I'm really glad we had this conversation. It's been just an honor.
This has been great, and now
honor and a privilege.
Thank you. Because honestly, thank you for what you do, and see, because us coming together helps people see we can't be divided. There's no competition.
Right.
Because that's a very westernized thing where it's like, yo, you got jockey for position. So, all right, Manny invited us, then what we got to do for this, that, and the other, as opposed to like, no, like real talk, like really, we are super proud of what you do, how you do it, the way that you do it, because you truly stay true to yourself. Like I've heard your story in different places and spaces, and it's always been the same. So for me, that's the formula for authenticity, because sometimes code switch can become so frequent that the switch toggles so much, you don't even know what real is anymore because you always switching. But when you get to a point where you at peace with who you are, then you make the people that are listening switch. So you got to switch to receive me. I'm not switching for you.
Right.
You not my fam. This is my fam. And that's really what it's about.
For the culture.
I appreciate that.
For the
I
culture.
do. What one more time, we'll remind people about the conference happening in 12 days now. Or
man, pull up, y'all. Listen, pull up.
Listen, tell them what's gonna happen. Tell them why it
got
should
all
be
the
there.
details.
If they like this and they anywhere near New York, it's a no-brainer. Obviously,
take a bus, take a train, take a walk, take a jump, hop,
just
skip.
like understand.
It's warm now. You can come to New York now.
Exactly.
I did the thing that New Yorkers do when I moved to Atlanta. So I don't like coming back in the winter. I'm bougie now. I can't do this. But now I can come. It's nice now.
No doubt. But no, definitely. The conference is June 22nd. Up at Teachers College. We're starting the day with like a coaching and just vibe session with some individuals who are working on different panel workshop ideas. Like I said, we're the unconference. We didn't want to turn anybody away. So we created lanes. We just gonna build, and then from there, we're super excited because what would be our opening keynote is a poetry exhibition, poetry soul fest led by no other than Dr. Yoli. And so it's Yoli, Kaylee, and then Lyrical Faith, who's
VX
going to bring
represent.
it down. So that's how we're kicking it off, and then we're going into workshops, and we have so many people from the Hip Hop Ed fam presenting workshops, presenting papers. Our lunch is going to be capped by Wisdom of the Cipher. You talking about being in Ireland? Nobody got more hip hop passport stamps than Tony Blackman.
Nobody.
So you
Facts.
get to come and see Tony Blackman do her thing with the Wisdom of the Cipher. So me and my brother right here, we gonna be part of that cipher. Her new book, Wisdom of the Cipher, is gonna be available.
Nice.
Then we're gonna have another round of workshops with people like We Do It for the Culture, High School for Recording Arts. We got people from all over, and then ending the day with a conversation with Team Yellow, which is Pharrell's organization. They have schools down in Virginia, and that conversation is featuring Chris, Dynamite's sister named Crystal M. Watson out of Ohio. Like, she's fire. The one and only Dina Simmons.
Yes.
She's coming through, and myself. So I tell people, like, understand, for $50, which is really nothing, for $50, you're going to get to chill with these individuals as well as meet people, and people are just coming through and doing it for the love. And so you could just go on X and go to the Real Hip Hop Ed. The tweet is right there on the top, or you could just go to bit.ly/HHED and just register and come through. Lunch is gonna be provided. We're gonna have the music going. Meet a friend, come and be friendly, and we're gonna have an amazing time.
It's a vibe for the culture. You heard?
Yeah,
I love it. Rumor has it I'll be there. So yeah. Let's.
Oh, no doubt.
I'm
No
saying
doubt.
you might get to see me too. I'm just saying, like, it's a little. My presence is a present.
No doubt. No doubt.
And to have Tony Blackman in the space is a blessing, man. I mean, everybody for real, but I'm just you know.
But we're excited about everybody, but you know what it is.
Tony always shows out
to get Tony Blackman, because
of course
I was just grateful that she's on this side of the earth.
I know, that's the thing. That's a good. Yeah, you gotta time that.
She was like, Tim, you and Chris caught me before I head home. I was like, I gotta catch
the hip hop ambassador. Extraordinaire. Shouts to Charlotte Michelle, by the way. CM in the building. She's hanging out in the chat. You know, I know she's been helping out and doing the thing. Shouts to Summer, our eternal consulting producer. Love always to Summer McCoy out in the building.
Please. I didn't know you rocking with Summer like that. Summer, you better come through.
She had better come through.
Summer, you better come through.
She's like, I'm hiking. I'm doing something.
No, you Summer, you owe me some love and a hug. You better come through.
Summer is a huge supporter and a mentor, just a beautiful soul, and she's the eternal consulting producer for this show. So yeah, just so you know, giving flowers. Lastly, while I got y'all, you already answered my big "How can hip hop save America?" question that I ask everybody. So you covered that. Just the idea of the Hip Hop Ed consortium, right? The collective, loose and or unofficial and official. What's the future of the movement? We understand the concept.
Like Wu-Tang. That's the best analogy to describe it.
I love it.
Right. So we are a consortium of folks who are doing work across geographic settings.
Yep.
I see our guy Rap was on here. Raphael Travis is on here doing beautiful work. Ian Levy doing work in mental health and counseling.
Yep.
Tim doing his work with youth development and techniques for learning. I do what I do with Science Genius and Collider Classroom or whatever else it is.
Yep.
Sis in DC doing work. Like it's a collective of folks across. And a beautiful thing with that Wu-Tang spirit and energy is like, you throw that W up.
Yep.
And they come.
Everybody come through. But everybody goes to their spaces and they also do what they need to do, and they represent for the brand and for the culture and for the movement. And like Wu-Tang, you got the 4 members, the core members, but then you got the affiliate group,
right?
And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think what I love about that model is that it does not center anyone at the expense of anyone else.
Yeah.
And I say this to Tim the other night, we've been doing hip hop ed spaces for so long. All of a sudden, my university gave me a class to teach on the Tuesday night. And I've been leading this convo like my whole entire last decade. And I'm like, you know what? Can't make it. Guess what happens? Tim leads it. Yo,
Right,
Tim needs
right.
another co-author.
Yeah, I remember you saw it. Yeah.
All this, like, and that's the beauty of it. There's no figurehead. There's no center.
Right.
There's just community. And so
Yeah.
when somebody needs to take a step back, they can. When somebody needs to lead, they can. When everybody's present, they can.
Yeah.
And that's the future of hip hop ed. Even my dog agrees. You see him
I
barking?
hear
Like,
that.
my dog
Yeah.
is like, yup, you spitting, beloved.
Yeah, I'm looking at the comments, and I gotta shout out my sis Ayana Muhammad, aka Red Summer, who will be doing a workshop.
Yep, I rock with her in DC, man. That's the homie.
Representing museum studies at Duke Ellington National Hip Hop Museum. So she just slid through, and definitely our clique who hold it down with us on Tuesday. But to the future, what Chris was saying, we are going to take that moment and really find a way to capture this story of this digital community, because and it's interesting because I've been watching Hulu. They had a 3-part series on Black Twitter, and I watched the first episode because at first I was like, I only got no time, but it is brilliant. But as I'm watching it and I'm looking at those years, and it's like, okay, our story in some ways runs parallel to that, but we're the ones that have to be responsible for telling it. So it's not me sitting there like, man, ain't nobody holler at my man Chris and this, that, the other. It's like, nope, I see the blueprint. I'm inspired. That's great. We have a story to tell. And I think as we tell that story, there's going to be people who may have passed through that we never saw, who was inspired by that hashtag and then went out and did that.
And
then that Tupac analogy again.
Keep telling your story. Exactly. By the way, shout out to Natalie Crew.
Oh, yes.
Culture Fix.
The Culture Fix. Yes.
You know what I mean? But yo, you tell your own stories, yo.
Natalie and
you
Nora.
wait for somebody else to tell your story, they'll always write you out of it. So you gotta keep doing what you do.
Without a doubt.
Indeed.
Yep. And
if
actually,
only we had really dope cultural hip hop media outlets that really Oh wait, we do. Oh, shout out to us. So yeah, one song for me and for y'all, really. And Natalie Crew, by the way, I just talked to her the other night. I was on another show and she's there. Natalie Crew is everywhere. She's like Roy Kent on the soccer show, the whatever on Apple. Anyway,
Natalie and Nora,
Ted Lasso,
they was definitely our litmus early on. Like,
yo,
you gotta represent this, you gotta represent that, and it ain't just America.
Oh God, Natalie
things.
Crew every day.
So,
like she'll never forget me. Forget it's international, and I keep that up. But that's the thing, and that's let me give real quick before we go. That's the inspiration that we all provide each other. Like I'm totally inspired. Like Natalie Crew's been with me from the New York Hip Hop Report when I was covering only New York hip hop on the Birthplace magazine, the thing that I built in 2008, 2009, 2010. And I wasn't even, I didn't know about none of y'all. I didn't even know what a teaching artist really was. I kind of knew, but I didn't really know until I met like Macau Amin. And I started talking to people who were doing stuff in the city. And I'm like, oh, y'all spitting out Freestyle Mondays. And I'm there because Freestyle Mondays is dope. But then you going into the men's, juvenile detention center, and you kicking it to the youth and giving them self, expression and confidence. Yo, y'all doing some things. And then I meet Natalie. She's rocking with me on the show there. And I get inspired by those to tell those stories. Because all I want to do, I'm a storyteller. I just want to tell people stories, amplify and uplift. And then I find out about y'all. I find out about Bettina Love. And it's like, then I'm inspired. But now y'all tell me, oh, y'all, you love what I do. And now I'm able to put all these people in the same room. It's very much each one teach one, which is sort of like the heart of hip hop. Is how we all kind of got our piece of the hip hop pie from somebody else. We didn't have YouTube. We couldn't learn how to do hip hop from I have it here somewhere, Toby Jenkins' book. Like we learned it from each one teach one.
Shout out to Toby, but
100%. She's been on the show, and I love it.
Let me just say this really quick, just let people know, because Chris knows, like when I say like you're my brother and like we love each other, like it's real. Yeah. None of this matters more than that. But I can never forget we met on Twitter. We're sitting here today, because it was a Tuesday night, and I happened to get on Twitter, and I saw this hashtag, and I just learned what a hashtag was a couple of hours ago, before that night. And in the spirit of hip hop, we firing at each other because I'm like, yo, I don't know you, and he like, son, I don't know you, and we start, and this is back March 2011. And literally, I was at my mother's bedside because she was in the process of transitioning from pancreatic cancer. So when I tell you like what he means to me, that's like, so that's the type of energy
Yeah.
where I was saying earlier, we will always be successful.
Yeah.
Because these are God ordained connections. I could not have scripted this relationship. And it's like, listen,
Right.
the family grows, the family goes and comes, and this, that, and the other. But when people were like, yo, it's Tim and Chris, it's not because we're leading this.
Yeah.
It's because truthfully, we were called to be in each other's lives for things that had nothing to do
Yeah.
with this work.
Yeah.
But if we weren't in each other's lives, we would not be able to do the work.
Talk, bro.
So you can marinate on that.
That's how. Hey, listen, that's divine. I'm that's divine. And the fact that we mentioned so many people names that were in the chat or not, like that's what I love about this. We always gonna uplift and amplify somebody else, and
no doubt.
So that's why it's just still great to be around y'all because y'all in the center of it. But the tentacles reach out far and wide. They'll all be coalescing on the Teachers College campus on June 22nd, 12 days from now in beautiful New York City. Or less days if you're watching on the replay because you need to be there. Again, the info is on Twitter. I think of everything. There's Twitter, the real HipHopEd. You get the information there. $50 registration. Come down and hang out with y'all and us. I'll be there and learn about this work and how you can apply it in the best way possible. Is there anything else I haven't covered that y'all would like to get across to the people?
Nah, y'all come through. We're looking forward to it. It's gonna be a beautiful session. Appreciate you for having us in the space, beloved.
Yep.
And I'll see y'all there. I'm looking forward to it.
Salute to Candace.
Facts.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah,
honor and a privilege to have y'all here tonight. Thank you, gentlemen.
Love y'all, man.
Peace,
We'll
peace.
talk again. Be safe.
All
Thank you. Thank you.
Later.
Yeah. There you have it, y'all. The inimitable Dr. Chris Emdin, the inimitable Timothy Jones. HipHopEd, baby. That's how it goes. Now, listen, there's a conference happening. I hope y'all like that. I appreciate you. I saw a lot of comments, but I was in it, y'all. I was zoned in. So again, shouts to Charlotte Michelle, CM in the building. My very, very young, very, very, I was gonna say supple, but that's probably not the best word. A very young, wonderful, brilliant friend who's helping this the situation get situated. Andrew Wang, thanks for jumping on. Great question. It facilitated another spark of discussion, which I think is super important. Again, I went to Ireland I want to know, like, what are they trying to do with hip hop and education? And I'm not a connector like that. Like, they know who these folks are, but to just have those perspectives when we're moving forward with the talks that we're doing and the work that I do and being here. Red Summer's going to be there. Thank you, Bob Knudsen, for hanging out. I know you were originally so far removed from this community, but I keep seeing you, and I love you for coming and supporting and learning, and I appreciate that. Everyone who's here, Summer, you already know. I do hope you come through. I hope you're not hiking. I'm sorry, but listen, I'm not the only one. Like, it's not like I'm the only one. So yeah. So anyway, shouts. Oh, good. All three audio levels were equally hearable. Well, those guys are pros. I tend to come across a little hot. So I tend to be a little bit louder than everyone else. Plus, I'm a loud person. But when I take the interviews and I rip them out and I put them up as standalone interviews, I balance everything out because I'm an exceptional audio engineer and I'm a award-winning podcast producer and editor. I'll have you know. So if you need podcasts, come holler at me. Anyway, I think I left the banner off for a while. That's a shame. I don't got a lot more left, y'all. That's been a long one. Please support this show. If you like what I'm doing, it doesn't come by accident. Like, I have to invest in all this stuff. And thank you to my supporters. We do have a good amount of supporters who I run through in the beginning of the show. I'll thank you in an email again. I will promote your stuff. Raphael Travis is a supporter, and he got a mixtape that just came out, and I'm going to put that in the newsletter. So I give y'all some, little perks here and there, what I can, but really it just helps keep the lights on until I can get the rest of the world to be like, yo, this is the greatest hip hop live stream podcast in existence, and we need to finance it so that it can blow up. In the meantime, help me out if you can. Patreon.com/Manny Faces. If you can't, at least give this video a thumbs up, give it a quick share, give it a comment, do the algorithm thing, make sure that, it does the thing. And also we have a great newsletter, which you should know about. If you like anything about tonight, the newsletter is for free. Although you can actually put in a little contribution there as well. I think it's like $7 a month is a subscription there. On Patreon, it's like tiers, and you could put in like $5, $10, $25, and you get free merch. I give you free merch. I have new design and discounts on merch and things. But really just try to support it if you can. Patreon.com/Manny Faces or mannyfaces.substack.com. We went through all the hip hop news that isn't about dumb-ish already. So I think that's it. I'm going to let y'all go. Thank you for staying with me all this time. Next week, I'm here. I'll be back the 17th, right? Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. We're going to do a show next week. I don't have a guest yet. I may have to get a guest. And then, I know who the guest is going to be. We're going to do a pre-record. Next week's going to be awesome as well. Kind of on the education tip, but it's going to be super dope. 2 people, super dope. Good friends. And then the following Monday, probably not, because I'll be just coming back from New York from the conference. So anyway, stick around, stay tuned, tell your friends, tell some friends to tell a friends. You can do that for free. And I really appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Peace and love. Chosen Hip Hop in the building. PR-ism Prism in the building. Thank you again for checking in. And Natalie Crew, of course. I'm just going back through who I might have missed, but it's all good. Y'all can leave. I won't feel it. Stephanie Bradley's in the house. Oh my God, Stephanie, hi. Stephanie, you're super dope for checking in. James Calhoun. Oh, I got to put this up because shouts to my peoples at EO Dub. End of the week, of course. Big Zoo from EO Dub has been developing some great curriculum at the Versus Project. Rest in peace, the great Vice Versus. Continued strength and love to EO Dub. EO Dub, y'all doing anything the weekend of the 22nd? Because I'll be in town. I'd love to see y'all. If you're not rocking, it's all good. Hey, Legendary say, if you're in New York City for the conference and you come in early, please go to Union Square subway station Friday night between 8 p.m. and midnight and check out Legendary Ciphers. My peoples are out there every Friday night, 8 p.m. to midnight, right upstairs on the outside, Union Square subway station. Can't miss them. You'll see them. Just go there and you can't miss them. Legendary Cipher has been happening for many, many years, entertaining tens of thousands of people for free every Friday night, 8 p.m. to midnight from May to October, I think. Rest in peace to the great majesty. But again, EO Dub is in the building as well. James, thanks for checking in. Let's talk so I can get more information about what Zoo's doing and what y'all doing with the Versus Project. Y'all have an open invitation. Please understand, you already know that y'all are, eternal family. So come through anytime. That's it. That's all I got. I mean, I got more, but subscribe to the newsletter and you get all the things I have to say that I don't remember during the show. I'm like, I forgot to tell y'all about, this thing. Yeah, I got little notes everywhere. I'm a mess, y'all. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's all for now. All right. I love y'all. I really do. Thanks for checking in and checking me out. Tell your peoples. Like and share real quick, and it doesn't matter. I'll put if you missed the interview and you want to catch it again, you can go back, obviously watch the live stream, or just wait till like tomorrow and I'll put the standalone interview up. That's the one I like to push because, I don't know how many people are going to sit and watch the whole live. Maybe people do. I don't know. I mean, people do. I don't know. I'm thinking aloud. All right. I'm out of here. I'm literally out of here. Goodbye. Peace. It's your man, Manny Faces. One time for me.
Manny Faces. You sick for this one.
Good night, y'all. Peace and love.